When people talk about the glory days of YouTube, they typically talk about 2007 to basically 2010, 2011. And in those times, most people were using a camera similar to this, or the one that I'm using right now. I'm actually using a Creative Vado HD to record this particular portion of video. And there were any number of other models. Kodak had a lineup. Sony had some of their own as well. But these were the most popular, these flip video cameras. And there were a number of different models originally sold from a company that I believe was called Pure Digital or something similar. And later Cisco Systems bought the brand and basically took it straight to 2011 when they finally pulled the plug on it rather suddenly. And for seemingly no reason at all, they just discontinued it one day. In fact, they were going to introduce a new model that had live streaming capabilities, which would have been really innovative for the time. You gotta remember, this is 2011. And then they just discontinued it. I guess because it wasn't profitable. Now, this one's a later model. This is actually a Flip MinoHD. There were several models before it, but the Flip Ultra was the one that I think was the most popular. It recorded 4:3 standard definition VGA quality videos. And I think there was also a Flip Mino before this that wasn't HD. That was the same deal, 4:3 standard definition video. But this is the HD version, so this one will record 720p video at 30 frames per second. Now, you can get better cameras, obviously. I think Kodak's ZI6 will do 60 FPS, but, you know, back then, you gotta remember, this is still like 2009. Most things didn't really take advantage of 60 frame per second video, so there wasn't much of an advantage to using that. And the one big thing with these flip cameras is that they were extremely simple. They basically had no controls whatsoever. There's no manual focus, not even like what some of these have. Now, this Creative Vado HD is pretty similar to this flip. There's built-in memory only, no expansion, a built-in battery, although on this Vado it's removable, and on the Flip MinoHD it's also removable, I believe. But it's not really designed to be user serviceable. The earlier flip cameras used AA batteries, similar to the Kodak ZI6 that I've got right here, uses AA's. But either way, these things can't take photos. They basically have no controls whatsoever. It's just recording video, playing back video, deleting video clips, and plugging it into your computer and using the built-in software, which I think was called FlipShare, to share videos. I'm sorry you can't read that. This, like I said, this will not do refocusing. Uploading videos directly to MySpace, you remember when that was a thing, and to YouTube. So that made these things very convenient to use for making home videos. So this particular unit has 4 gigabytes of memory. It's the Chrome model. They sold them in various different colors and with patterns on them and whatever. I think the earlier ones were sold in basically white and black, and these later ones were the ones that came with all the patterns. It records 60 minutes worth of video on that 4 gigabytes of memory. Remember that some of that is going to be taken up by the built-in software that is stored on the camera. So to run the software, you needed a 3 gigahertz Pentium 4 or faster, Windows XP with 512 megs of RAM, or Vista with 1 gig of RAM. I don't think I'd run Vista on less than 1 gig of RAM, but that's just my opinion. And a USB 2.0 port. I find it funny that the Mac specifications are quite a bit lower, or somewhat lower anyway, certainly as far as the CPU speed goes. Although you need a better CPU, a Core Duo, because Macintosh has never used Pentium 4s, unless you count the G5 as a Pentium 4, but it's not the same thing at all. Yeah, Pure Digital Technologies was the company that owned the Flip brand and came out with it back in the day before it was purchased by before it was purchased by Cisco. It's about 11:20 on a work night, so you gotta forgive me. I'm kind of tired while I'm working on this. So yeah, 16:9 widescreen, 30 FPS, H.264 video, which is actually pretty good, and AAC audio in an MP4 format. Some of these other cameras recorded in oddball formats that weren't necessarily readable with computers, which made them kind of cumbersome to use. But you could take it out, and you can see that it's got a very Apple-esque package. If you remember the original iPhone, it came in a package pretty similar to this. So there's a MinoHD and its chrominess. And you can see that I have the manual, or that's not really the manual, that's just safety instructions. I have the television cable and the hand strap. I don't know if these actually came with chargers or not. Let me see here. Does it say? It did say what it included, right? No, it looks like these things don't actually include chargers, like things you plug into the wall to charge them. You're supposed to charge them with the USB port, which seems kind of odd that they wouldn't include an actual charger, but, you know, I guess it's all in the name of simplicity. So, if we have a look at the actual device itself, now, I actually had a Flip Ultra on order that I bought that I was going to include in this video, but it hasn't shown up yet, so obviously I can't include it in this video, and I'm not going to wait another 2 or 3 weeks for it to finally go from clearing customs to appearing at my doorstep. You know, it's been a week since it cleared customs, so I don't know what's taking so long, but you can see very simple controls, and the little flip-out USB arm, which is where they get their name from. The flip just flips out. So, you know, and we could turn it on, assuming it still has a charge. And you can see, just very basic camera. There's not much to it. You do get digital zoom, so at least it's got that much. But, I mean, there's no refocusing. It's a fixed focus lens. There's no optical zoom in any way. So we could do that, and we can take a look at videos that we've recorded on the thing. We could play them back. So, anyway, it's a pretty basic little idea. Works well enough, I suppose, for what it is. So, like I was saying, these are pretty popular back in the late 2000s to early 2010s. Basically, when YouTube started really getting popular, people were buying these things because not only were they cheap, but like I said, they were very convenient. They didn't have a whole lot of functionality. You know, pretty much none of these cameras had a whole lot of functionality. It was just record and playback. I mean, this Kodak has a fixed focus lens. It does have the ability to go far and near, which is different from most of them, but they're pretty simple cameras. There's not much you can do with the camera itself. It's not like a camcorder. Now, this is a bad example because obviously this is a little bit newer, but, you know, where you've got the zoom, you've got cards and tapes, because remember, 2007 to 2009 even, a lot of people were still using mini DV to record videos. You didn't have to deal with FireWire connections and importing tapes and real-time editing and all that kind of stuff. You know, this would probably be a more period-correct camera. This GZ-MS-110. And even this, you know, it's a lot more complicated. All the functionality, of course it's dead. I mean, why wouldn't it be dead, right? But a lot more functionality out of a camcorder than with this, which will fit much more easily in your pocket. I mean, look at the size of it compared to the camcorder. So, that and the fact that you could upload videos to YouTube straight from these cameras is what made them really popular. But of course, you know, like pretty much everything else of this size, the smartphone pretty much decimated these things. Now, early smartphones, of which I do have a couple. I mean, anybody remember my first YouTube videos that were recorded on this thing? Absolutely awful. And in comparison, these things shoot marvelous video. But, you know, compared to a more modern smartphone, let me see if I've got one sitting around. I have a 3GS somewhere, but this iPod, which I think is, what, a 4th generation iPod? The first one that could actually take video. This thing shoots video that would blow this right out of the water. So, and I mean, it is a little bit bigger, but it's got a bigger screen, so it's easier to see what you're working on. And it's certainly a lot thinner. And it's a lot more of a full-featured device as compared to this, which was really simple. So people outgrew these things and moved on. And then Cisco pulled the plug, and that was the end of that. So anyway, I think I've yacked on enough about this Flip MinoHD. Let's go ahead and switch over to it and see what it shoots in terms of video quality. So I've gone ahead and I've plugged the Flip in, and I'm transferring the videos off of it now. I just thought I'd share this and show this off. So there you can see the Flip Share program files, which is something that you need to install on a Windows computer. Now, I don't know if you need to do the same thing on a Mac. I suspect you probably do. It does give you some instructions here. But you might or you might not. I don't know. But I find it funny that it shows up as a file folder on a Windows PC. That's the Macintosh program. I guess on a Mac it's also technically a folder, but it's like an application package kind of thing. Anyway, that's beyond the scope of this video, so I'm going to shut up now and give you some Flip MinoHD clips. Okay, we're now shooting video with the Flip MinoHD. Welcome to YouTube from 2008, 2009, probably more so. 2008 would have been the Flip Ultra, which I think was a little bit bigger, and also was standard definition. V Westlife has a good video on his channel of that. Of course, I probably already mentioned that in this video. I'm shooting this test footage like I usually do to spill some secrets before filming the rest of the video. Can get a couple of comparisons to the Creative and also the Kodak. Really the two Kodaks if you want to get more comparisons in. Got a pretty narrow field of view. Nice thing about this, though, is that you can actually sit it on a surface, and it will sit there. So you don't have to worry about it falling or anything like that. It's not like any of the other ones which don't have a flat bottom. Those purple things spread. I didn't think they were all the way over here, but now this was sold to me in unknown condition. Well, sorry, it was sold to me with an unknown battery condition. But so far it seems to be holding out pretty well. It's not too bad. Yes, I have a vintage TV collection, sort of. They're not really all that vintage, but I just don't have the time. And computers. Yeah, lots of stuff. There's lots of space in there. Probably should be using that for storing things. Actually, I probably shouldn't. I probably should be just biting the bullet and getting myself a storage unit. But I'm cheap, so we'll see. And they're not cheap either. It's like almost $600 a month for a decent-sized one, or an adequately sized one. The affordable ones are too small to be useful. But I guess that's because they're meant to be short-term. pretty decent job of adjusting the exposure. Like I was saying in the creative Vado video, I don't like this time of year, because the sun sets way too early. By the time I finished this, I wanted to get some test clips from these cameras to put together a comparison video, but I don't know if I'm even going to have enough sunlight to do that. It is fixed focus, so coming up close to something isn't going to get it to go into focus. This is pretty much the same as the older flip cameras. It's just a lot smaller. A lot smaller. I think you get about the same amount of zoom as the Vado. I think the Kodak gives you more. I'm not entirely sure. But, of course, that's what a comparison video is for. Here's some low light video of the Flip Mino. See what it can do. Probably not very well. Most of these pocket cameras don't tend to do very well in low light situations. I don't even have any light that I can give it, honestly. It's like pure darkness. Well, not quite. It's actually still pretty light out. It's nice to see that nobody bothered to actually look back here and see all this crap that should have gone out in the trash this week, but whatever. Of course, I'm not really sure what you'll be able to see in the final product as compared to much of anything else. Because it could just be that the LCD doesn't do a good job of showing everything off. It is pretty dark out. Of course, the other thing about this flip camera, even though it's illegal to hold it while you're driving, I wonder if it would actually have the stability to sit up and function as a sort of dash cam. I may have to actually try that at some point. Let's see how long it takes for that camera to fill. Yeah, I thought so. So instead of like decent driving video, what you'll get is just looking at the sky. Well, unfortunately there's not much I can do. Can't hold it while I'm driving because that's just illegal. So, recording video in a car is not really possible for this thing, as I think we've determined. I guess if your dashboard was flat, it would probably work a little better, but see, the problem is that my dashboard's not flat. I don't know if there are any cars with a flat dashboard. Quite honestly, I don't think there are. At least you can kind of get something of an idea for the field of view of it through clips like this. Yeah, it just fell right back over again. But you can see, oh yeah, it just went flying back. I didn't even hit the gas yet, and it just went flying. So that's kind of useless. I don't know what you're looking at now, probably the inside of my car. Because I can't even see the screen anymore.